AI must be democratized. Only India will be able to do this and ensure that AI is used for social good. Do you think this will happen with the United States of America? Do you think this will happen with China? No. Only India can do this, and India can provide the model for the global south.
Do you believe that the government is committed to put that kind of resource?
There's no shortage of money. The minute it is utilized, more money will be provided. Wherever we've utilized money, you've got more money. What the AI mission must do is to exhaust this fund and seek more funds. You'll get the money, because this is where the transformation of India will take place across sectors.
So if you had to write one policy today or make one rule in context to AI for India, what would you do?
I would say no rule is required as of now. Allow AI disruption to take place. Whatever rule has to come in should be a pro-innovation rule. It can't be done by one country. It will require global rules.
Sir, I had to do this conversation with you. I read this article and I have the printout of it, AI's Days, what India should do, and it is actually very compelling and it's gone viral on internet. I want to begin with this, the last order, the rule of Joe Biden's administration on the diffusion rule. It puts India in tier 2 when it comes to sourcing GPU and the restrictions on the technology frontier. What do you have to say about this?
I think it's very regressive order for a country which has been a Quad partner, because you can't be negotiating with India as a trusted partner and then put India in tier 2 and say that I'm going to restrict supply of both computing power and training of frontier models, because you've put 18 countries in tier 1 category, and therefore I think it was a very unfair and to my mind a very improper order just before the Biden administration was leaving.
Yeah.
It was probably the last order of the Biden government, and it has been very unfair to India.
When one looks at US, it is AI dominant right now. China, it's state run. When we have to look at the next frontier, which is AI, and India, what do you think should be our stance?
So the AI race has just begun, and it's a very binary question that you're asking about US and China. Technological races are never won by those who innovate first. It's won by those who innovate smarter, those who scale on a large scale, and those who democratize technology in a big way. And to my mind, the US approach is, it's a proprietary model, it's not open source. And in China, it's state-led, whereas to my mind, the race will eventually be won by those who democratize AI for everyone, and which will use AI to transform lives of citizens, which is what is important, and who are able to innovate on a large scale on an open source model and not on proprietary models, which will be closed, to my mind. And therefore, the race has just begun, and how India innovates, how India scales it, and how India democratizes this technology on a large scale, using its ability to do good software and do it in a very cost-effective manner, in a less energy-consuming manner, really holds the key to the future.
As you have also pointed in your article, that GPU is the engine on which the software and all the applications would be built. And right now we are not in the best of spot when it comes to procuring GPU or building it here in the country. What do you think we need to do as a country right now?
So, two things. One is that India needs to, we'll have close to about 19,000 GPUs. We've said that we'll provide our citizens computing power at rupees 100 an hour. which will be very cheaper, far cheaper than other countries of the world. Second is that we must work in partnership with the US because we are a trusted partner, and I think Prime Minister's visit to USA has been very successful. AI figures there quite prominently. So my view is that we need to work with the United States of America to see that computing power that is of the most advanced variety, as is being made available to 18 countries, should be made available to India as well. Because after all, the market is going to be in India. Where will they sell? I mean, if you do not enable top-class computing power being made available to India, where will the American companies sell? And if you do not do that, are you saying that India should go and partner Huawei? So to my mind, it is a win-win for all of us, both USA and India, that we use AI for social good. We use AI to transform the lives of citizens. We use AI in a responsible manner in partnership with the United States of America. And we do it with the most advanced computing facilities. But having said this, I would also say that India must use its very sophisticated software skills to do very bright, brilliant, and clever engineering. And that should be a convergence of good software with computing power. What DeepSeek has demonstrated is that you can do this at a low cost with less engineering consuming. And I think India has already demonstrated this great ability to do open source. And I think the open source model is the way forward. That's the way the world will progress. That's the way more and more innovation will take place. And that India has already demonstrated through its digital public infrastructure that it has great ability to do open source innovation. And last point I want to make is that nowhere in the world you'll have close to 500,000 technical engineers. Nowhere else in the world will you have 92% adoption rate, and nowhere else in the world will you have this energy, vibrancy, and dynamism of your startup movement for AI, which will enable them to use AI. Because the future also requires that you do multimodal and you do multilingual models, and that will enable you to remove biases, which is very critical to my mind, that we build models which are based on Indian data and on your civilizational strength and on your literature, your knowledge, and therefore your models are not based on Western mindsets but are based on Indian data sets.
So with so much of advancement that US has made and now DeepSeek, what China has come up with, do you think we are late?
No, we are not late at all. Race is technological races are never won by those who do the first round of innovation. Look at the first laptop which was invented by Osborne. He went bust. Look at Alta Vista. He did the first search engine. They went bust. So we are bang on track. None of these countries have 500,000 engineers. None of them have such a high adoption rate. And none of them have the culture of innovating smarter. They can spend billions, but they'll never be able to innovate smarter. They will never be able to scale at the speed at which India will do. And lastly, they will never be able to democratize technology in the manner in which India will do. And therefore, India must drive the AI revolution like it has done with the digital public infrastructure model, because I'm absolutely clear in my mind that AI must be democratized. The very, very important that we are able to bring down costs. We must do nimble, cost-effective engineering, and only India will be able to do this and ensure that AI is used for social good, to improve lives of citizens, to improve learning outcomes, to improve health outcomes, to improve nutritional standard. Do you think this will happen with the United States of America? Do you think this will happen with China? No. Only India can do this, and India can provide the model for the global south.
What do we have to do to accelerate this?
Well, I think important thing is, firstly, do very nimble, cost-effective engineering. Number two is to provide computing power to your researchers, academic institutions, etc. Number three, to build foundational models, which is very important. Number four, to build up multilingual and multimodal foundation models, because we have not merely 22 languages, official language, but we have a range of dialects, and all of them must be based on India's civilizational strength, because otherwise we'll make ourselves a technological colony of USA and China, which India should never do. We must innovate, and we must innovate with the power of our own data. And government must play a very critical role in opening out all government sources of data for AI foundational layers. Government should not be possessive about opening data sets. They should open out all data sets for all our startups, all our researchers, all our IITs, IIMs, and engineering institutions, so that they can bring in the kind of disruption which the world needs.
Yes.
And government is sitting on massive amount of data. It doesn't clean it up, it doesn't anonymize it, it doesn't enable data to be put out for startups, and that is what keeps India backward. The government must be the most progressive agency in terms of providing all data sets for our startups in an anonymized manner, and that will enable the huge disruption to take place.
Sir, what is the AI mission doing, and what is the government doing? You have the vantage point of seeing what the government and the policy makers are doing in this regard.
So the AI mission, the government has declared its intent that it wants to drive very clearly artificial intelligence. It's done this through a range of new missions. I think it's one government which is looking at technology to pole vault India. So it has an AI mission, it has a quantum computing mission, it has a semiconductor mission, which has a very important component of production-linked incentive. It has a mission on clean tech now in this new budget. So these are all very progressive, forward-looking measures. And I think this AI mission, the aim really is to ensure that you are able to provide huge amount of computing power to our institutions, and to say that we'll be providing computing power at about 100 rupees an hour will be the cheapest computing power available anywhere in the world. And that is what Indians must access to create foundational layers.
But the elephant in the room, which I hear from different corners, is the investment that it will take to make this happen. This requirement for huge capital for the hardware ecosystem to develop. Do you believe that the government is committed to put that kind of resource?
So Shraddha, my belief on this is that there's no shortage of money. Government has provided this allocation for AI mission. The minute it is utilized, more money will be provided. I've never found shortage of money for these huge amount of technological leapfrogging. Wherever we've utilized money, you've got more money. So what the AI mission must do is to exhaust this fund and seek more funds. You will get the money, because this is where the transformation of India will take place across sectors. It's not about just being a technology driver. It's about making a difference in every single sector of Indian economy, to make India become a Viksit Bharat, to make India grow at 9 to 10% per annum year after year for 3 decades. And more than that, to transform lives of our people living in rural areas. You know, how do you improve health? How do you improve learning outcomes? How do you improve, do away with stunting and wasting in nutrition? Yeah. So these are the challenges which AI will solve for us.
Sir, now I want to ask you on behalf of all the students I meet across the country, there is this concern that with AI, where are the jobs coming? And especially in a country like ours, where we are looking for 10 million jobs every year, how do you have a balanced AI roadmap, and how should we be thinking about this?
So two things. One is technology, as the PM very rightly said in Paris, never leads to loss of jobs, but it changes the nature of jobs. At every stage of technological disruption, you have new kind of jobs. And what is important is that all our institutions from schools, colleges, much like what we are doing with Atal Innovation Mission right now, that we are doing tinkering labs in schools from class 5th standard onwards. You need to reskill, and you need to provide completely new skills to our young people. And there's a huge shortage of AI engineers. There's a huge shortage of data scientists. You can't get a great product developer in India for love or money. And I think that's because the curriculum in our engineering institutes and our private engineering institutes and triple IITs, IITs has not been altered for this huge disruption that is going to take place. So we need to completely rehaul our curriculum for creating AI engineers and data scientists of tomorrow. And you will create a completely new set of jobs. And the other point I want to make is very important, that if you look at China, for instance, it is able to bring a lot of its skilled manpower. You know, many of our people who've gone abroad if you look at all these big AI companies right now, a lot of innovation is being done by our engineers there. Yeah. And it's important that we should have the ability to get them back through a new scheme which will make it very, very attractive to them to retain their jobs there, but come back in India to create foundational models. And also a great scheme for supporting us, our startups, put in a lot of resources into Sarvam, Cure AI, etc. All these startups are using AI for health. Many of them are using multi-language models, and we should support them fully to create many more foundational models for India.
Yeah.
There are many challenges for India. Just pose these as great challenges and create grand challenges for these AI startups to find solutions for India.
Sir, why don't we have a national advisory or a board, an active board which takes this agenda?
I'm totally against these advisory boards. I'm totally against anything of this nature. I believe that it needs to be driven with vigor, with a great sense of urgency, and in a real missionary model now, because I think the next 1 to 2 years will be really transformation in this race for AI. And therefore, you need quick implementation on ground. Implementation is the answer to this. We don't need more and more advisors, we need cracking it on ground.
So you have done that in the past with many things. Are you going to take this up? Is the government asking you to take this?
No. I am just saying that whoever is implementing, which is the AI mission and the METI, will do it with speed and vigor.
One on the education. For Viksit Bharat or for this country, AI can play a huge role in education. Do you see that as a big charter for the government?
It is big. It is very big. The new education policy says that. Okay. And it's very important that learning outcomes, because what India has done is to provide physical infrastructure, school for every child. But where we need improvement now is in improving learning outcomes. Even a class 10th student who is passed out is not able to read or write his mother tongue in class 4 or do maths or physics or even history. So he's passing classes after classes after classes, but is not able to understand. Now, it's physically impossible to do it in the present model because such a vast segment of population, you're not able to monitor them on a regular basis. One teacher is teaching 200 students, there's lack of personal attention. The only way you can transform it is through the use of AI, because then you can monitor the result of every child on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and tell him that incrementally you've gone up 5% up or you've gone down 3% down. And the teachers will then be able to understand whether what he's teaching is the child absorbing or not. And therefore, if you want to improve India's learning outcome, the foundational model that we need to build up is to improve learning outcomes of Indian children in different languages. And that will have a dramatic impact on our productivity in future. And that will enable us to create the skilled manpower for the next century.
Today, the corporates, startups, developers, government, are they all coming together and working together to look at AI?
So AI mission and the ministry must interact, because this has to be driven by the private sector. This has to be driven by the startups. This huge AI transformation that we are looking forward, the huge radical disruption that we are aiming at, the huge ability to scale on a large vision and to be able to do smart innovation cannot be done by government.
Yeah.
Government has to facilitate this by providing data sets.
Are we doing that?
I think we've started to do this now in a big way. We are assisting and supporting many of our startups. For artificial intelligence, foundational models, we should get out of this L1 model. It's not possible. We should say that these are 30 foundational models we want to create. We should ask our startups to start working on this. We should work out what the costing is, give that money to them. To do it as a grand challenge. Don't go through this lowest cost, you'll pay peanuts and get monkeys.
Okay, sir, I have some rapid fire questions. Okay, first is easy. How do you use AI in your daily life?
Well, I do a lot of search. I use it for taking inputs for what I talk and what I speeches, many things. And I use it for getting a lot of good international information and comparisons on how India is competing with other countries. So I use it on a regular basis.
If AI could replace one bureaucratic process in India overnight, which one would you choose?
I think all rules, regulation, procedures, paperwork, all of them needs to be scrapped using AI. Yeah. I'm glad that government has talked about this deregulation commission. It needs to use just AI to scrap all of them. They're all built in the socialistic era, and when we had replaced British Raj by license Raj, all of them needs to be scrapped. Because I'm a believer in free enterprise. I believe that only free enterprise will enable India to grow at rapid rates. Leave complete businesses to private sector. Government job should be only primary education, primary health and nutrition.
Which is more confusing? Crypto regulations in India or trying to explain AI ethics?
No, I think crypto regulations are very, very complex, and sometimes we tend to mistake that we put huge taxes on our online players. Many of them are moving abroad, etc. They'll all go bust. So we should be very clear that crypto is very separate from online this thing. So I think we need to set that regulatory mechanism right.
If you had to give India's AI policy a Bollywood-style tagline, what would it be?
So I'd say AI for transforming lives of Indians. I think AI must be used to transform lives. AI is not just about technology. It's about transforming citizens' lives in India.
So if Indian politicians started using AI-generated speeches, how long before people will notice?
Quickly, because right now PM has been red flagging deep fakes. PM himself has been talking about many of these issues. He spoke about it. Deep fakes will become a big challenge, and I think we should be very clear about the downside aspect of AI, where some kind of pro-innovation regulation is necessary. It's very difficult for one country to do it, but you need a global body to do it. That, deep fakes or using AI for detrimental impact should be totally discouraged. AI for transformation of lives is very, very powerful message.
Yeah. To me, you stand for Brand India and Brand India to the world. If you had to look at Brand India today in the context of AI, what would you say? Where are we, where we need to go?
I think India's a very powerful force of use of technology. We've used digital public infrastructure to do about 50% of India's global's fast payment, 50%. China's next with 20%. We use the power of digital public infrastructure to do credit, to do stock market transactions, to do insurance, all this within 30 seconds to 1 minute. And we use DPI to leapfrog in 7 years what would have taken India 47 years to achieve, according to AIIB. So India's brand equity is today seen after G20, and we demonstrated this vigorously in every meeting of G20, is that India is a technological powerhouse which will use the size and scale of India to transform lives of its people.
How invested is Prime Minister if you had to tell what's happening in the background when it comes to AI?
No, Prime Minister has always been a big driver of technology. He's used technology. I think there can't be a better leader who propagates and who's a great brand ambassador of technology to transform human lives. In fact, he invited Jensen of NVIDIA 2018 to give the Niti lecture to the entire cabinet. The Prime Minister himself sat there, the entire cabinet was there. Jensen came and spoke for over 2 hours on the power of AI. So he was way ahead of any other leader as far as artificial intelligence was concerned. And he's been regularly meeting Jensen to understand what a GPU or what AI can do to transform lives of citizens. He fully understands the imperative need for both computing power and the need for converging soft power with hard power.
So if you had to write one policy today or make one rule in context to AI for India, what would you do?
I would say no rule is required as of now. Allow AI disruption to take place. Whatever rule has to come in should be a pro-innovation rule. It can't be done by one country. It will require global rules. If one country does it, then it will remain backward. I mean, I've seen this happening in EU. That EU has been putting a lot of rules, regulations on safeties, etc. But it has taken, I mean, look at this. We must understand that what free enterprise does. USA controls 26% of the global GDP. It controls 44% of the market capitalization, just 4% of the population. EU's GDP share of global GDP has come down from 30% to 18%. Too much of excessive regulation is also not good. As it grows and progresses, you will require regulations much like the nuclear rules and regulation, an international body for nuclear rules. Similarly, you will require one for artificial intelligence, but it will require global cooperation. Today, in France, at the last meeting, 61 countries arrived at a consensus. US and UK were not there, but I think as we go for deeper engagements in due course, they will also collaborate. And that is the kind of cooperative effort you will require, not an individual country approach.
Sir, one question on behalf of the startups and the scaled startups also here in India. There is a disadvantage for startups because be it OpenAI and other players, Google, they have LLMs, they have the advantage and they have the scale and they had capital. But in India, we are not seeing, we don't have that growth capital. What do you have to say?
So, very important question you've asked, and I think one of the good things the finance minister has done in this budget is firstly to create a fund for startups by putting another 10,000 crores. Yeah. And secondly, to talk about a deep tech fund as a part of the 20,000 crores she's allocated for innovation. So if you are able to create a deep tech fund of 10,000 crore, it'll have a huge impact. Secondly, I think a lot of our insurance companies, pension funds, family houses, all should put out resources for, use it for funding many of these AI startups in the future. Many Indian companies, you can't do this or multilingual Indian models. You can't find solutions for India only on foreign money. You would require Indian insurance companies and pension funds to put more resources in the hands of startups and do it as a risk capital. Yeah. Why US succeeds is because a lot of risk capital is available, and risk capital is available to students in universities who work with their professors.
Last, your dream for India when it comes to this frontier technology?
Well, I think AI must be a source of good. It must be a technology for social transformation. And it must be a technology for finding a solution to the most challenging problems India is confronted with, and which are to enhance agriculture productivity, because 45% of your population is dependent on it. Yeah. To be able to enhance learning outcomes, and to my mind, using AI really to uplift a vast segment of our population, which is living in rural areas. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for always being very honest, transparent, and pushing India's agenda, India's people's agenda. It is very, very encouraging to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shraddha. And congratulations for all the great work that you are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.